Well, today as we kick off 2024, can you guys believe it's 2024? And our first book club of the year covering Shift. The reading assignment from the syllabus was pages 1 through 36. Did everybody do the reading? If you didn't, it's okay. I wanted to start off actually reading an excerpt from the foreword in the book, if that's okay, because I just think it's so profound to why we are where we're at. How do we arrive there, right? So, and I'm not going to read the whole forward, but the excerpt I am going to read is it starts with living to the right of middle. And I'll begin. So during this is about Gary Keller's telling a story about his son John, who during his junior year in high school, John and I were having a father and son one-on-one about achievement. And he had asked him to do something, and he quickly informed me that he didn't want to do it. And when I asked him why, he simply replied, I just don't want to. Of course, my initial reaction was to say, I didn't ask if you wanted to. But when I got mentally parental and said, let me share something with you. John, a lot of people make decisions about what they will or won't do based on whether they want or don't want to do it. But I'm not sure if they fully understand the corner they may be painting themselves into with this approach. The response has everything to do with success and achievement, but probably not in the way they think. I drew a line on a sheet of paper and continued. I want you to think of the far right of this line as complete success and the far left as complete failure. It's my personal belief that all of us live our lives somewhere in between these 2 points. Now, I want you to know that I've never, ever met anyone who is a complete success, or for that matter, anyone who is a complete failure. In fact, John, I believe most people live simply somewhere in the middle. They're average. What I think happens is that we go about our lives. Most of us miscalculate what it takes to succeed at a high level. And as a result, we end up getting unceremoniously caught up at the midpoint of achievement, not going any further and not really knowing why we're not. No matter the motivation for more, no matter the desire of our dreams, the results tend to hover right around the middle of the line. Now, why do you suppose people get stuck there? I paused to let him absorb all this, and I very quietly answered my own question. They get there, and this is where it gets good. They get there by making decisions based on whether or not they want to do something, rather than whether or not they should do something. You see, John, the road to average is paved with I don't want to's. So, how do you get out of being stuck in the middle? And here in the book, there's this diagram. There's a circle that says average, and it's most people. And then the line extends to the left and the right. And to the left is complete failure, and to the right is massive success. And as I was reading through this, I took some notes myself, and I wrote, on the side of complete failure, I also wrote regret and disappointment. And then to the right, where it says massive success, I also wrote extraordinary and uncommon. And so as I was thinking about my own life and the choices that I've made and my discontent with being middle of the road or being average, I thought about the people that I know that have been massively successful. And I thought they live extraordinary lives. and they live lives that to most people would be uncommon, right? Or maybe not even realistic. Like, oh, I can never dream of having that. Well, you can by simply shifting your mindset and adopting a different belief system. So let me continue. I said, in order to get to the middle of life in anything, all you have to do is what you like to do. But if you want to live to the right side of average at anything that really matters to you, and this isn't just real estate, this is life, you must move past doing only what you want to do and do some things that you don't want to do. And the more you can conquer this and do what you need to do, but don't like to do, the farther to the right of middle you get to live. And in other words, and this is the part I highlighted that I really want to drive home to everybody, the measure of your success in life is in direct proportion to what you're willing to do when you don't want to do it. And I remember my very first job. I worked for the little old lady at the roller dome, Marge Wall. And she said something very profound to me when I was 14 years old, and it's stuck with me my entire life. She said, Aaron, it doesn't matter if you like the job or not. Because here I was, 14, I'm complaining that I got to not only take out the trash, but then there's cotton candy and there's old soda pop in the bottom of the trash bin and hot dog debris. It stank. It was the nasty of nasty, right? And I had to clean that out. I had to clean all those out, and I had to bleach clean them and put new trash liners in them. And I was moaning and groaning to her, and she said, Aaron, it doesn't matter if you like it to do it or not. You have a job to do. You're not going to like everything you do, because there were parts of that job that I love. I love roller skating. So I love working on the skates. I love fixing the skates. I love helping people pick out their skates. And I love skating itself. But that was the part of the job that I didn't want to do. I didn't like to do it. She said, it doesn't matter if you like to do it or not. When you have a job, you just do it. And there's going to be parts of it that you don't like, and there's going to be parts of it that you do like. And that experience is in direct alignment with this story that Gary shares in the foreword, and the lesson that he was trying to drive home with his son, John, who said, I don't want to do it just because I don't want to do it. Well, that's the path to an average life, the average life that most people live. So the reason I wanted to share this with all of you, because if you truly want to live a life that's extraordinary and uncommon, then the measure of your success is in direct proportion to what you're willing to do when you don't want to do it. I feel like I can end this here, man. It's so good, right? So let's move in to the material, tactic one, and I went through. Fast forward to page. I know the reading assignment was 1 through 36, but we could talk about anything you guys want to today. So, first of all, what do you guys want to talk about? Like I said here, talk till I'm blue in the face, but it may not matter to you guys. So, is there anything that you read that you wanted to share? Something that really stuck out or spoke to you, or maybe that you have questions on? Because these two tactics, get real, get right, mindset and action, this is really the foundation of where it begins for all of us. So I want to turn it over, hand the floor over to you all, and hear your thoughts on it.
For me, it was on page 35 where it says it is dumb money. So for the first year of real estate for me, I had a lot of dumb money just going out and just reevaluating everything and just giving it a name. So I had a lot of dumb money. So I had to reevaluate a lot of things, and especially last year. So just going into this year renewed and just knowing to, I guess, to just look at it and say, is this going to help or is it not, if I don't fully put the effort into it? Because there's a lot of things out there that work, but am I going to put in that effort to actually make it work for me?
Yeah. Wow, that's good. That's really good. Great awareness, Brittany. Thank you for sharing that. And I think that's very common in a shifting market when our results change, or maybe if you're newer to the real estate, maybe you haven't got the results that you're looking for, period, ever yet. And yet those who are experienced, what worked for you in 2020 didn't work in 2023, right? And right before page 35, something I highlighted: to generate revenue, you generate leads. To generate profit, or to make profit, you manage expenses, right? And so one of the things I love about Ben Crenshaw, our new team leader, is he asked me, he said, hey, do I have your permission to coach to profit first? And I'm like, absolutely, because at the end of the day, what else matters? The purpose of owning a business, the purpose of every business, is to make them profitable. And if you're going to coach to making our agents' businesses as profitable as possible, my answer is going to be a resounding yes every single time. So how we view money, and by the way, we're all programmed through our upbringing with a mindset around money, right? You know, maybe you had a lot of it, maybe you had none of it growing up, but a lot of our programming stems from the conversations in our household growing up. And maybe you don't have a mindset around money because money wasn't discussed, how you handle money, how you invest money, or maybe what you observed was money being spent frivolously or freely, and it was managed poorly. But all of those experiences we bring and carry with us to this moment. And right now is an amazing opportunity for you to reprogram your thoughts, your beliefs around money. And I'm excited to go on this journey with you all because it's one of the things that I myself am really passionate about, is how to do more with less, and how to make take full advantage of the resources that we do have and be a good steward of those. And I tell you what really changed for me. I'm a big Dave Ramsey fan, but when I started viewing money as none of it's mine, and this happened when I became a Christian, and I started to study and understand that I'm a steward of all the resources that God has trusted me with. And when God can trust me with what I have, he'll give me more, right? He'll entrust me with that. But you got to earn the right to do that. And that really shifted the way that I thought about money. And when I started viewing all money as none of it's mine, but I'm a manager and I'm a steward of those resources, it changed everything for me. Changed everything. And especially now in my role, I don't view the company's money as mine at all. It's the company's money, and I'm a steward of it. I get to manage it, and I want to do a good job. So hopefully, we can learn from each other as we go through this process. But thank you for sharing, Brittany. How about you, Jennifer? You, Stacy? I haven't heard from either of you. What spoke to you in this material? What did you get out of it?
Well, for me, kind of going back to talking about money, dumb money versus smart money, I had a call with Nancy this morning, and we're kind of, talking about, your big why, your goals. And, I have a yearly goal, and she's kind of talking more about, okay, like what's the dollar amount that you want? And I'm like, I don't know. And I think that's something that, we know if we don't have that goal, it's really easy, for it to not happen. And so I guess that's, I want to do some really kind of self exploration to figure out, like how much is enough, what is good for me. So it's pretty deep.
That is deep, because then we all reach a point where maybe, I mean, I'm sure there's some people that don't, but we find contentment, right? Where you have enough and I'm happy with what I have, right? So then it becomes, at least for me, less about the money, but what the money can do for you and those around you. And so that challenged me at one point in my career as well, because I felt like, okay, I have enough money to pay all my bills, not only pay my bills, but to pay off debt and make savings. I don't need any more than this. But then
Mhm.
I was challenged by a coach who said, well, what's your favorite charity, Aaron? I was like, well, I love Aaron's House for Grieving Children. And my coach said, do they have enough money? And I said, no. He said, well, what would it look like if you were able to make enough money to bless them with an additional 10, 20, $50,000 annually? And I was like, wow, that would feel pretty good. I haven't done that yet, but I do like to make donations to support that charity because I believe in it, and I know that I know the impact that it has on the people that are in their program. So, um, yeah, finding contentment, having enough. There's nothing wrong with that, but you have to go on that journey to discover what that looks like for each and every one of you individually, and it's going to be different for everybody. It's going to be different for everybody. I know my why, and Nancy's talking about probably about your big why, and for me right now, it's making sure that my kids can go to the college of their choice and that they get a degree and they leave there with a degree and no financial burden or debt. And so, if I can make that happen, um, which my daughter will graduate this year with her master's degree and no student loans, no debt whatsoever, then after that, I need to find a new big why, because that changes over time.
Mhm.
And there might be there's always a finite number, right? To pay your household bills, to pay off debt, credit card debt, loans, etc., whatever, and then save money and make investments. Now, when it comes to saving money, I call 6 months of financial reserves to cover all your living expenses. I call that the war chest. Now, most financial advisors will recommend you have at least 3 months of reserves in savings, and yet most households are living paycheck to paycheck, and they don't even have 1 month of reserves in place. So, if no matter where you are on that spectrum, a good place to start would be build your financial war chest for your household, that God forbid something were to happen to you where you couldn't work and earn a living, you would have some reserves to fall back on and a little bit of a cushion there to help you. And if you're not there yet, then I would include that in as part of your financial goal for your real estate business. And then the final part is making investments, right? Is having enough to when you pull that last sign out of the yard and collect your last commission check, that you no longer have to work for money, but you have money stored away that's working for you so that you can live passively off of that income to maintain whatever uh, level of lifestyle that you would like to maintain through retirement. And none of us want to think, especially Desmond's age, he's a young man. And I remember my father having that conversation with me, and I'm like, whatever, you're old. What do you know? The reality is, our elders know a lot. And then here I am. I turned 50 this year, and I remember my dad sitting me down when he turned 50, having that conversation with me, wanting to go over my finances and make sure that I was positioning myself so that I could enjoy a retirement and not have to work all the way through my entire life. And now at that age, I'm like, okay, there's a lot of wisdom to what he said when he was my age, trying to help me. And so now I get to help others do it, which feels pretty good. And start young, start now, and start squirreling away, even if it's $3, $5, $6,000 a year. If you do that for 10 years and put that in a really good money market account, and I'm a big fan of mutual funds because they have a really, I don't want to say predictable, but I like Vanguard mutual funds. And over the last 30 years, they averaged 12 to 16% return. That's a really, really good return. And if you're interested in that, let me know, because I have some books you can read on how to set it up yourself and learn more about it. And I'd say about 10 years ago, I started down that path of investing in mutual funds, and had never done that before, either like bought stocks or real estate. But yeah, make your money smart, I think, is where this whole conversation started. And we're going to dive even deeper into that conversation throughout the rest of the book. Jennifer Kinney, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
Good, good. What stood out to you in these first few pages of Shift?
I guess kind of the same along the lines of what you guys are talking about already. Managing the money and cutting back on expenses
Okay.
and knowing when to do that.
Yeah, I have a really good acronym. And if you've been to my trainings before, you probably heard it. And I apologize for that, but I'm gonna say it again because I know there are some new people here. So write this down. It's called Kronk. We're gonna get Kronk, and it's KRONC. All right, see if I can write it up here on the whiteboard. Kronk is KRONC. Is the camera following me? Can you guys see me?
No, it's not.
How do I make that work?
Is it connected to just a computer and not the owl?
Oh, you know what? It might be. Let me do this. There we go. Jasmine, can you still see it? All right. So there might be a glare. You may not be able to see it. I'll go over this though, but Kronc, KRONC, is a really good way to remargin your expenses and get out ahead of any shift, right? So if, I mentioned earlier, I highlighted to generate revenue, you generate leads, okay? So that's where this all begins, is we lead generate to generate revenue. But to make profit, you manage expenses. The way we manage our expenses is by following the Kronk model. And so it's real easy to do. If you have a business account and you have a debit card associated with that business checking account, you print off your monthly statement and you go through it line by line. And if you don't have a business account set up and you're just running this through a checking account with a debit account, you can do the same thing. But you need to have a list of all of your expenses. And you're going to go through it and you're going to ask yourself, what is vital to the survival of my organization? What do I need to keep? Okay. So you gotta pay your realtor dues, because without it, you won't have a license and you can't even practice real estate, right? So you're gonna keep realtor dues, right? What are some other examples of expenses that you're gonna have to keep? Yeah. Gas in the car, right? Yeah, you're not cutting that out unless you have a Tesla. You gotta charge it, but then you got an electric bill. You're not cutting the electric bill out, but that would be an example of an expense you can keep. What can I reduce? The next one is reduce. What would be some examples of an expense that you might be able to reduce? Does anything come to mind?
Eating out.
Eating out. Yes. Instead of Ruth's Chris, I'm going to go to Jimmy John's, right? That would be a way to reduce. Or I'm going to pack my lunch. But that might be a little further down when we get down to C. That's cut out. What can I cut out, right? Eating out, right? But reducing would be an option for eating out, right? We can reduce eating out. What else? What else comes to mind?
Reducing some marketing that may not be working.
Yeah, there you go. Go through it. Hold your dollars accountable. What's working? What am I getting results from? What am I spending money on that isn't producing the return I'm looking for? And by the way, in MREA, Gary recommends a 4-to-1 return. Every dollar I invest in marketing, your ideal goal is a $4 return on that investment. So we have to track and measure that in order to determine, are we getting that return? So maybe reducing some marketing expenses that you know aren't working. The next one is going to be offset. Does anybody have an idea what offsetting an expense would be? How can you offset an expense? So I have a Peloton. Well, I did. I sold it. So I'm going through Chrome. I wasn't using it. And James isn't either because I go on his account. I see he's not. Oh, I'm just kidding, James. He does use this Peloton. But what I learned in the Peloton world is in the summer, I ride outside. I don't ride my Peloton. So you can pause or offset that. It's like $44 a month to have access to all their classes. It's a subscription, right? So Peloton will let you pause that during the summer months until you come back indoors to ride in the winter. So that would be an example of offsetting an expense, right? Is I'm gonna cut it out temporarily. I'm gonna pause it. Or during COVID, a lot of lessees or tenants would go to their landlord and say, "Hey, I can't work right now. Can we put my rent on hold for 3 months? Or can we reduce it until I can get back to work again," right? So offsetting would be pausing it or putting something on hold for a period of time. The next one's going to be negotiate. What can I negotiate down? Give me an example of something that you might be able to negotiate that's an expense. What do you guys think of it that's a negotiable expense? We're in the business of negotiating, right? And yet, how often do we do it when it comes to our expenses? And so the whole idea behind this is when you have that list, to go through each line item and ask yourself, do I need to keep this? Can I reduce this? Can I offset this? Can I negotiate it down? Do I need that premium account, or can I go down? Can I get by with just the basic account, right? Let me call them and see if I can negotiate a better price. You'd be surprised at what you can negotiate down if you simply ask the question. Most people don't even consider making that call or taking that action to negotiate it down. So if nothing comes to mind, just know that everything's negotiable. Everything's negotiable. Okay. And then the final one is cut out. I'm just gonna put cut. And what can we cut out completely? How many Netflix accounts or subscriptions do you have, right? I saw this post from this app that, it'll supposedly cut out expenses for you, right? And they were saying that there are many households that have 2 and 3 Netflix accounts they're paying for and they don't even realize it. Wife has one, husband has one, the college student has one, dad's paying for all 3 of them. So what are some expenses you can cut out completely? And that's how you get to making your money smart again and protecting your margin. And then finally, that's how we ensure that we have a business that's profitable. And I'll tell you what, every year, Keller Williams Realty International has us go over our budget. And when we submit it, they'll come back and they'll say, I want you to reduce it by 10%. So we go through this exercise. Okay, let's take another look at it. what are some things that we can keep, reduce, that we have to keep, but what can we reduce, offset, negotiate, or cut out all completely? And there were a couple this year that we were able to cut out all completely because occasionally we would use the services that we were subscribed to and paying for, but we have to ask yourself the question sometimes, if I cut that out, is it going to be detrimental to my bottom line? Am I actually getting business from this thing? Is it helping me generate revenue or leads? And if the answer is no, cut it out. Cut it out. Good stuff. Desmond, how about you, buddy?
What I like was, two things that we have to take personal ownership of was lead generation, lead conversation. No matter what the market is, we always have to be doing those.
Yeah.
Especially if you don't want to do it, you should be, like I said.
Yeah, that's why I went over that in the beginning, is because lead generation is a conversation that most agents want to avoid because they're not prioritizing it. They're not doing it on a consistent basis. And I always compare it to going to the gym, and everybody wants to go be buff, swole, and shape. The guys want the beach muscles. They want to bench press 315 pounds. That's 3 plates on each side, if you don't know that. But nobody goes into the gym and just does that, right? How do you get there? You get there by showing up consistently, day in, day out, over a long period of time. And then you wake up one day, they say things happen gradually, then suddenly, and you wake up one day and then you've achieved that goal. And if our goal is profit in our business, then the muscle we need to build by showing up at the gym every day consistently is called the lead generation muscle. And so nobody wants to hear it. I say it. And I'm here with a small group of agents right now. We're doing it in the morning. And I want you all to know that you're all welcome to come down and join us. It's the mundane. It's boring. There's nothing glamorous about it. Sometimes it's awkward. Sometimes it's uncomfortable. I don't enjoy doing it, but I also know, because I've had a $10 million plus sales business for myself, that that's what it takes. That's absolutely what it takes. You go ask any high achiever in real estate, and I guarantee you they're making daily calls. They're making daily calls. And I think a lot of agents get hung up on lead generation says it in the book, prospecting based, marketing enhanced. A lot of agents make their real estate lead generation marketing based, and there really isn't a whole lot of prospecting going on. And prospecting is picking up the phone and calling people, getting in a relationship with people. And I mean, there's no sugarcoating it. There's no way around it. I see James in here every day. He's on the phone talking to people. And if you're not having enough closings, I would say it's really, really simple. You're not talking to enough people. It doesn't mean you have to call buyers and sellers. It doesn't mean you have to go cold calling for sale by owners or expired listings, which, by the way, I was called expired listings this morning. You know why? Because December 31st is a lot of people that do listing contracts will expire at the end of the year. January 1st is always the #1 day for expired listings hitting the I don't say they're not hitting the market. There is the biggest list of expired listings is on January 1st. So I had a long list this morning that I started going through and trying to call. I don't always have their contact info, but a couple of my left. It can be. We have forewarned though. If you can find the address and the owner's name, the owner's name, the city they're in, you can a lot of times get some phone numbers for them. So I was using forewarn this morning. There's an expired down in Hartford City. It was kind of a horse farm, and then I found out through forewarn that the owner's deceased. So I called the last known number for that person, thinking maybe a family member has the phone or the phone number now, and the phone was no longer in service. But I'm not done. I'm not done there. I'm going to mail them a packet next. So, and if I wanted to drive an hour and 6 minutes down to Hartford City, because I've done it before, I've listed property down there before, I'll go knock on their door. Yeah, go door knocking. hey, I noticed your home is no longer on the market. Do you still want to sell it? And the thing I love about expireds is they've already signed with an agent once. And there's typically a couple reasons why. There's 3 reasons, and you can write this down, that expired listings don't sell. They weren't priced appropriately. That's reason number 1. It's almost always priced, right? It wasn't prepared properly, which means the condition wasn't in alignment with what the market wanted at the price it was offered at. And then the third thing is the agent didn't market it appropriately or properly. Either way, it wasn't marketed correctly. So it's one of those 3 reasons why it didn't sell. And so what I like to ask the owners of an expired listing is, hey, I saw your home is no longer on the market. Were you aware of that? Most of the time the answer is yes. Well, oh, no, I didn't know. And I was wondering, do you still want to sell? So then you're determining, are they still motivated or not? And then the next question I asked them is, why do you think it didn't sell last time?
You walk out the front door, like you said, you just.
Yeah, knock on the front door. Why do you think it didn't sell? And then are you interviewing aggressive agents to get the job done for you this time? That's the last question I like to ask. So I ask all those questions when I'm engaging somebody who has an expired listing. So that's a good one. That's a really good one.
Yeah.
Yep. Thank you for sharing that. I got a couple questions here that I wrote down. So this first one's around mindset. Since tactic 1 was all around mindset. Oh man, I highlight books. I dog ear pages. I write notes in them. I have a lot of notes here under tactic 1, get real, get right, mindset and action. So the question I wrote down was, how can adopting a get real, get right mindset positively impact our approach to business decisions and problem solving? I'll read it again. How can adopting the get real, get right mindset positively impact our approach to business decisions and problem solving? Well, let me go in here and read a couple excerpts. First of all, I love the quote right under tactic 1. Decide what your priorities are and how much time you'll spend. If you don't, someone else will. Love that. Love that. So true. But the mental shift. So I believe that your life will either be about your problems or your opportunities. That's another thing I highlighted. But let me get back to the get real, get right mindset. So Zig Ziglar said, you have to do a checkup from the neck up. So everything starts with mindset, and it's reshaping itself. And it isn't reshaping. I'm sorry. They do a checkup from the neck up to make sure that even though the market is reshaping itself, it isn't reshaping their attitude. So we have to adjust our mindset to be in alignment with the market, right? So get real, get right mindset. How does that positively impact our approach to business decisions and problem solving? What are your thoughts on that?
So my first thought is, if you're getting real, then you're actually looking at where your business is coming from. You're getting granular, and you're not making excuses.
Yeah. So what would be some tactical or action items that you could take on a daily basis that would help you embrace that approach?
My first thought is, if you're spending marketing dollars, then like really looking at that. So, if you're doing like Facebook ads, are you getting any, return on that investment? If so, how much? I know for myself, like I did some mailers last year, and that was before, I had the knowledge of, 4 to 1 on ROI. And I did get a listing from it, which was fantastic. I mean, I could send mailers for every month for a year, and that has shown that that has paid off. So I know going into this year, I need to double down on my farm. So I'm going to up my mailers by 50%.
Love that. Love that. Anybody else? How can adopting a get real, get right mindset positively impact your approach to business decisions and problem solving? And Stacy said getting real and getting right is just owning it, right? Taking action and owning it. And her action was farming, right? And sending out those cards. What else? What else are you guys doing? For me, I like daily affirmations. I have to listen to something. I usually do it either when I first get up or on my car ride in. I'll pick something motivational or inspirational to listen to, whether that be an audiobook or a podcast. Just something to feed my mind, get my mindset in that positive framework of, okay, today I'm going to go out there and this is what I'm going to do, right? Your mindset has to be in a place that inspires you to take action, right? So usually for me, it involves a little bit of caffeine and then something that I fill my headspace with to get me going. Does anybody have like a ritual or a routine that you follow daily that gets your mindset right and gets you inspired and motivated to do things?
For me, it's the morning call, the pivot morning call with James Shaw.
Okay, yeah, there you go. Perfect example. So James Shaw has the Facebook group called Pivot Shift Ahead, and he does a morning live or phone call, right? And so what does that do for you every morning, Stacy, when you're on there?
Oh man, it is awesome. It's like it's 7:30 in the morning. You're tired, you don't really want to do anything, and then you can't help but just be completely transformed by like the motivation. I mean, there's 700 people on a call, and everyone is forward thinking and supportive. It is like it fills my cup every day. I get off of that phone call and I feel like I could do anything. It's awesome.
That is awesome. Do you know James Shaw? Does he ever talk about this? He's from Indiana. He went to
Yeah.
Boston. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Great dude. He's a great guy. Love him. Anybody else have a something different that they do? No, that's a really good one. That's a really good one.
Hey, Aaron, it's Paul.
Hey, Paul.
Get out of bed, and even if I don't want to, I do something with exercise, even if it's only for 5 or 10 minutes, because I know that it gets everything else moving. And so I notice when I don't do that, I'm lagging or, kind of sluggish in the morning. And I also don't go out and eat a bunch of breakfast right away. So that's kind of what I'm doing now more.
Love that. What kind of exercise do you like to do, Paul? Calisthenics or?
Usually it's stretching. I've got some bands behind the door in my office that are hung on
Right.
the board, and I'll do some of that. Turned on to I got my big monitor interface, so I can go do some crazy stuff with music videos and things. While I used to do it right on my treadmill. I'm fixing 2 of the screws now, but I'll be back up on that. And so those are the basic core things. A little bit of core stuff. I do have hand weights that I work on for flexibility, but those are the basically 3 things that I'll use right away in the morning.
Awesome. So you get your body moving and that gets your mind moving. Love it. Love it. I tell you what, recently I started doing, my daughter came up from college and took me, she wanted to go to Yoga Flow. And I'm like, that sounds like a great class for women. But I went with her. She took me to a hot Yoga Flow class and I was hooked. So now I'm doing yoga and Pilates. And I never would have thought in a million years that I'd be a yoga Pilates guy. But now I've been to like 5 or 6 classes, and I'm going to keep going back just because of the meditation, the meditative state, just how flexible and loose I feel when I get out of there, and how limber I feel. It just and I tell you what, Paul, when you get to be our age, right, you just want to feel good, move well. And that's kind of like was my mantra I went on starting a year ago, and I started getting back into like riding bicycles. Was okay for me, physical fitness and mental health. Well, first of all, health to me is mind and body, right? I think the YMCA says mind, body, and spirit all work together cohesively to give you overall health. And for me, moving good and feeling good and moving well, regardless of your age, is kind of like my goal and my mission for longevity moving forward. So love that. Love getting going first thing in the morning as part of your routine and ritual. Love
Hey,
it.
Aaron.
Yes,
Aaron, I
sir.
had a system, a Russian martial arts coach that I went to for a long time. Every so often I check him out. But I originally went because it was the synovial fluids in the joints that they worked with. And it looks slow on videos if you look them up, but it's
Yeah.
extremely effective. It's SYSTEMA. So anyway, that's another one.
Okay. Love that. Love that. So we talked about mindset assessment. We talked about actions with the get real and get right concept in your day-to-day operations. How might we encourage a culture of action within our organization? What are some things that you all think that we could do to make that part of our culture? Any ideas? Any suggestions? Yeah. How might we encourage a culture of taking action within our organization? So not just for you, each of you individually, but this is about each of you individually. Like as an organization, how might we encourage building that culture of taking action for you or
Hey,
with?
Aaron, there was a property coming back on the market. Long story, but I won't gonna tell. Not gonna tell it. About 600K plus, 650.
Yeah.
And I was talking to Michael about that, and it just now came back on the market. And I said, let's go do a like a BPO, or let's go up to the property and take a look at it because it's a go and show. And I said, let's do it. Okay, the next 2 days are full. Let's do it Thursday. So that's one of the ways I think, for me at least, to encourage it.
Yeah.
If there's things that I'm going to do together that somebody says, let's do it now. Let's get on the calendar and put it on right now. So
Yeah. Well, I think one of the things we'd like to start doing, and I want to hear from you because authorship is ownership from my perspective. And if you guys say, hey, we think this would build the culture of taking action from within our organization, then we want to do that. I want to do what you want, what you believe is going to encourage and cultivate that type of culture, action-based culture within our organization. But I tell you, one of the things that we're doing is I've been beta testing this with a couple of agents. We're coming in together, we're huddling, and we're making calls together daily. We can do that out here as the whole company. And so I think what you guys are going to see is a lot of our trainings are going to shift to the afternoon so that we're not discouraging you from doing the one thing that top agents do, and that's lead generate. And so we know that getting the hardest part of your day out of the way first, so making your calls and building relationships and reaching out to people in the morning is going to be the best time to get that out of the way, is because you're the most rested, you have the most focus and the most amount of energy. Again, you're going to start seeing Ben and myself scheduling that here, and whoever shows up, whether that be in person or via Zoom. But it's just having that culture, that camaraderie where we all come in, together and we do it together. Okay.
Aaron, is that meeting on our calendar so we can put it on our calendar, individual calendars?
Let me ask Ben, because I know that was going to be on the calendar 3 days a week.
Great. That's what I'm looking for.
Last time we had discussed it. So
Okay.
let's talk about the next question. I know we're getting low on time here. We got about 6 minutes left. I want to go back to expenses and reflecting on your current expense management. So I want you to think about your current expense management and how does the way that you're treating your expenses currently, how does that align with your core business objectives? Are they in alignment? And this is more of an awareness question. If you want to speak up or you have a response to this, then by all means, please speak up. But I wanted to present this as more of a planting a seed of awareness by asking you, how does your current expense management align with the core business objectives that you have for yourself? Is there alignment there? And are there areas where you can remargin? We talked about remargining your expenses. Are there areas where we or you can remargin your business by reallocating resources more effectively? All right, so I want you to give that some thought as well. Does anybody have any feedback for that? Okay, I'm going to add to it then. So we talked about identifying waste. I think this CRONC acronym is just such a great one for not only remargining our business and the expenses, but also we have to do it. So like this is the action-based item that all of us should be doing every month. Reviewing your financials from the previous month and taking a really hard look at where are some areas that I might potentially identify waste, right? Are there specific strategies mentioned in the book that you guys read that might resonate with your current situation? And I know Brittany spoke to this because she had mentioned smart money versus dumb money. So I'm going to go back to page 35 as we wrap up here. Were there any excerpts from this? And here it says, cut, cut, cut. So I wrote down cut once, but in the book, they wrote it down 3 times, right? And back to like when I mentioned we submitted our annual budget every year to the region and it goes off to corporate. And every year they come back after we submit it and they're like, hey, we need you to cut this by 10%. And so again, cut, cut, cut. No cut is too small. That's the first thing that I see. What does Sam Walton say about? I read an excerpt here. It was like Sam Walton had talked about. Let me see if I can find it real quick about how when they were building Walmart, how they did it. Oh, Sam Walton explains his success this way. So when asked about success, this is what the founder of Walmart said. We kept our expenses to a minimum. That is where it started. Our money was made by controlling expenses. Sounds simple, but yet I see so many people get excited at their first sale. The first dollar they make is also the first one they spend, right? Instead of the first one they save. Has anybody ever went into a business and they got a dollar framed above the cash register? Everybody ever seen that business? And it's usually represents the first dollar that they made, right? And they frame it, they put it up on the wall. I'm kind of old school. I think we should get back to that. Okay, the final question I have here is about implementation, right? So what challenges might arise in implementing these tactics into your business? So tactic 1, just to recap, is get real, get right, having it right, developing or adopting a renewed, the right mindset and getting into action. And then tactic 2 is remargining your business through expense management. So what challenges might arise in implementing these 2 tactics in your business?
So like, a lot of stuff off, you might have to get used to those not being there. You want from that, the upgraded version of that stuff you're using back to the basics.
Yeah.
You might have to learn how to do it without the extra tools you were paying for.
Yeah.
Get it done.
Yeah.
Couple small things like that.
Love it. You know what? It's going to take some sacrifice, right? And I don't know about you guys, but to me, sacrifice, what it means to me is giving up the immediate gratification of what I might want in the moment for what I ultimately want down the road. So I think we have to be focused on the future that we want for ourselves. And so sacrifice to me means giving up what you want, that immediate gratification, what you want in the moment, for what you ultimately want for yourself down the road. And I would say if you're not willing to make sacrifices in some areas to do that, then you simply don't want it enough. It's not that important to you. So we have to start with, like Stacy was on her call with Coach Nancy this morning, and Nancy was trying to help her identify, what do you want? What's really important to you? And I think that's exactly where it starts for all of us, is having clarity around that. Wouldn't you agree? Awesome, man. I appreciate you all. Anybody else have any like closing comments or feedback before we wrap up? It is 2:00 and I want to be respectful of everybody's time. Awesome. All right. So you guys have the syllabus, you know, the reading assignment for next week, right? Does everybody know? Y'all have it memorized? It's gonna be page 37 to, I need to pull it back up. I don't have it memorized and I created it. How do you like that? 37, it's tactics 3 and 4, pages 37 to 82. All right. We'll see you guys next week. Same bat time, same bat channel. I appreciate you all. Yeah, go out there and get after it this week. And let's make 2024 a year where we not only survive, but we thrive.